Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me for WCM Live. I am your co-host, April Garner Davis. Brother Edward is working on some little technical issues that he has right now, but I'm sure he will be joining us in just a moment. I have a wonderful opportunity today to talk to a new leader with a new vision for the NAACP Myrtle Beach branch. Tiffany Andrews is here with us this evening, and we are going to have a great conversation about her vision and strategy for moving the NAACP forward. And I hope that you all are ready to take notes and get involved, because the support is definitely needed in order to make sure that the strategies that will be in place for the different areas that are part of her vision will come into play in the way that the community needs, in order to make sure that we have a wonderful organization that is supporting everything that everyone needs in order to live, work, and play in our communities in a better way. And you'll be surprised to learn what the NAACP is all about. It is a nonpartisan organization, and Tiffany will talk a little bit more about that. She's going to, I'm sure, share with you a little bit about who she is, which there's some facts that may surprise you. But the diversity and intersectionality that Tiffany brings to the table is one of the reasons why success is really in the near future for the NAACP. And so I want to welcome her today, Tiffany Andrews. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here, taking the time. I know you're an extremely busy person, moving and shaking things in the Myrtle Beach area, Horry County, and beyond. And so we just welcome you and thank you so much for being here. So for those of you who do not know Tiffany, I'm going to ask her to introduce herself and, give us a little bit about your profile.
Okay, so obviously my name is Tiffany Andrews. I moved to Myrtle Beach in 1999. My field of expertise is marketing and advertising. I am a newly awarded Addy winner for District 3, which is really big and huge in the advertising industry to win an Addy. I am employed at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. Let's see, I think April wants to know an interesting fact. So for those who know me, they know me as Tiffany, someone that has always triumphed to help and do whatever I can to move the community forward, serving on various organizations. And not too long ago, probably maybe about 10 years ago, I just rolled off as a commissioner of Horry County Higher Education, where you're appointed by your delegation, where I manage millage dollars for Coastal Carolina University. In between that time, I have worked for the United Negro College Fund for fundraising. I'm currently serve on the board for Burroughs and Chapin Art Museum, and just helped plan their most recent gala, anniversary gala. I am a Black Republican, and I'm Jewish. Now, there we go.
Exactly. There we go. That's a pretty big nutshell, Tiff, as far as all of the things that, are part of who you are. And I think that, as the audience listens to you and talk about your vision for the NAACP, what they will learn is that, even though there are certain things that they may not have in common with you, one thing is for sure, that you have in the forefront critical issues facing the Grand Strand community. And so, probably all of those intersections of who you are will come together to help you bridge some gaps in the community. I'm sure that's one of the things that you really want to put in the forefront as you work to, dare I say, restructure, rebuild, revamp. What is your vision for the NAACP Myrtle Beach?
So here's the deal. It doesn't matter where you are, where you're from, what career you have, your socioeconomics, none of that matters. It really just boils down to what we all need is for things to be equitable, for us to be informed, and to have a healthy community. And when I say healthy community, that doesn't just drill in on wellness of life, but even mental health, And when I say equitable, that goes right back to, hey, great paying jobs. I come from the school of thought, two jobs means two people. And at the end of the day, when it comes to employment, it is paramount that we're all able to succeed. Livable wages, what does that look like? And when you drill down even further, it comes down to, one may think that it's about the economics, but livable wages goes back down to your dignity.
Mm. And you're on point about that. And the livable wage issue is a pride point for people, because some people are, they don't want you to know that they work more than one job to make ends meet. There's like that shame factor that's involved with that, but it's a very real walk for people. That's a truth that people walk in nowadays. And I think that, when we talk about those things that definitely do impact wellness, you mentioned the mental health piece and emotional health. I don't know that people really associate the NAACP with that thrust to make sure that wellness is a major, or I say health and wellness is a major part of everyday living. Traditionally, when you think of the NAACP, you think of the civil rights movement, you think of the fight against social injustice, you think of a lot of things that we know, especially within our culture, as we were taught, were the founding pieces or the pillars of the NAACP. So as you start this new work and as you walk in your leadership role, I think that it would be great to educate people about what the NAACP really is in today's in this day and time, and what it is that you are charged with doing as a part of the mission of the organization. So, number one, has the mission changed from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, or has it just evolved? And there's a difference. There's a difference. Mm-hmm.
And you're right. The mission has evolved. It's still about we're still fighting for what's right. And now you say, well, what's right? Education is still on the forefront. Employment is still on the forefront. Even down to voting is still something that's very, very important. So nothing has changed. We have just really said, let's figure out how to make it better. Let's make it relevant to the people that we're serving. Hey, I'm not against people saying, let's go and rally. But I honestly believe there's more power to the pen, and there's more power when you've made powerful connections to those people or those legislators that can make the positive impact that you need in your community. And guess what? We're the ones who put them into office. We're their So am I going to, well, some people may say, hey, I'm going to protest. Okay, I'm going to make a phone call. And with that, I will clearly express the importance of whatever that issue is that we're dealing with, and how, and not just giving the issue, but also offering a solution. Don't just be a problem maker, but also become a problem solver. And in time, we can achieve great things in unity.
It's interesting that you say, some people will protest. I will make a phone call. Phone calls can be a part of the protest, especially if you're unifying the strength in numbers. And as you mentioned, talking to your legislators or going directly to them, those are some of the things that we're asked to do. And sometimes, it's more reactive than proactive when it comes down to critical issues. But I think it all boils down to what we understand about, how politics works, how change happens, and understanding who the movers and shakers are, and also what language they speak. And sometimes the language has to be everyone coming to the table to have a conversation, or creating a table when we're not invited. And so would you say that, the NAACP definitely is that entity that will create a table even when you're not invited? And is that a part of your vision?
Okay, the answer is yes. What's most important for us all to realize is that all politics is local. no matter how you slice it and dice it. And do we create a table? We create the table and we put the seats around the table. And we come there with a very thought out message that we want delivered. And as I mentioned before, a very well planned solution and how we choose to achieve it. You know, it really is about fostering clear and open communication. We do that every day in our day-to-day lives. So it's nothing any different when it comes to um, civil justice and fighting for what's right. Yet to me, it's not about what's fair. Hey, life isn't fair. Like the person cuts me off on the road, that's not fair. But what is important is equality, inclusion, and recognizing that I am a person and these are the rights that are deemed to me. And I didn't make up these rights. It's in my constitution.
Okay. So there was a recent election, and you're not the only one who was actually elected to serve in your new role. Tell us a little bit about the newly elected officers.
Oh my God, it is a great slate of officers, and they all bring like their unique sense of abilities to each role. I'm grabbing a cheat sheet because like last thing I ever want to do is like mess up a name. So our first vice president is Miss Vivian Lockett. She brings on, lots of corporate America experience, very well versed, serves in a variety of community service organizations. Our second vice president is Robert Nesbitt. He is a Mason. He's excellent. He's really a mover and a shaker. One of those can-do, will-do personalities that we all need. One of those cheerleaders that you need in your corner. Sheila Grissett, oh my goodness. She's our secretary. She keeps us in line. She totally keeps me in line, making sure that all minutes and things are recorded properly. But her skill set is organization, which that's what we need. And our assistant secretary, Davinia Lloyd, a bundle of joy. She brings the youth to the organization, vibrant ideas that can say, hey, we may be thinking, let's do this. She's like, oh, what about this? This is going to be like a little bit cooler. So she brings in that youth factor that I really love and adore. And last but not least is our treasurer, who's been a treasurer for the NAACP, goodness, as long as I've been a member, and that is Earl Brooks. And he does an excellent job in making sure that all assessments are paid through the national office, and any invoices, all of the monotonous stuff that no one wants to do, and spreadsheet crap and taxes, or telling me, no, we can't afford that banner, or color. So it's a great, it's a great group, and they all bring in their area expertise, and it's wonderful working with that. And we also have an executive committee, and the EC, as I call, they're made up of at least 10 members, and they are appointed by the president. And it's an array of people. And when I say an array, in profession and ethnicity, which is needed.
So, Tiffany, tell us about the area that is covered by the Myrtle Beach branch of the NAACP.
Okay, so we're there. So pretty much, just think the eastern seaboard of Myrtle Beach. So from Little River all the way down to Surfside. And you may say, well, what issues, what is it? So if there is anything that is dealing with, it doesn't matter if there's something within your employment that you have questions about, or if there was a termination, or let's just say that you were suspended. You're not quite sure what to do. You feel like it wasn't done correctly. You feel like that. And then our next question would be, or our regrets committee would say, well, let's see your handbook. How long do you have to reply? What steps and actions have you noted that you can show that you were in the right? And let's see if we can make this right. See, the whole thing is that people really think it's like, no one is coming. We're not coming after attacking you. That's not what we want. We want to foster a communication. It's called just a peaceful resolution. I want to resolve. You want a positive resolve. I want a positive resolve. And where do we meet in the middle? And somewhere in the middle, we're going to find a commonality, and we're going to find a feasible decision. And that's one of the many things. Some of the other things we would be engaged in is youth activities. We are looking forward to relaunching the college branch for the NAACP. Even when I said health and wellness, sponsoring workshops, one of the things I would like to see, possibly in the spring when it's pretty outside, is to hold a community event titled Ask A. Like, ask a what?
Hmm.
Come up with 30 whatever. Ask a Catholic, ask a teacher, ask a mom, ask a grandparent who's raising their child, ask a server. And that is putting us all in a safe environment to get to know one another. See, oftentimes we only know folks in our silo, like the people that we work with. But
Mhm.
it's about expanding your radius to really get a true grasp of who people are and how you can enrich their lives. And when you get to know their story, you can make a positive difference.
So you're right. And yeah, and that is a part of the outreach that your organization is trying to do to make sure that everyone really understands one another. And that's how we move forward positively, just like you said. So, based on what you just covered, the NAACP's Myrtle Beach branch covers from north, which is Little River, down to Surfside. And I think that sometimes people get the geographic boundaries confused, or they just hear NAACP and they're not sure of which branch they're to reach out to. So for persons who are living in that corridor between Little River and Surfside, it's the Grand Strand branch or the Myrtle Beach branch of the NAACP. Is any of the are any of the inland areas covered, like Conway and other parts of Horry County that are kind of outside of what you just described?
So actually, anything past Myrtle Beach, so Conway, heading towards Conway, Aner, Garrett's Ferry, that area, they have their own branch.
Mm-hmm.
And then from Surfside, then you fall into Georgetown, because you have Pawleys Island, Litchfield, Pawleys Island. So that's the Georgetown branch. And if there's ever any confusion, what we are all trained to do is to say, hey, let me put you in, let me get your name and number, or I can give you the number of that person in that area that can assist you with whatever. It's not necessarily an issue, but whatever the concern is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So we have a question from Priscilla Fuller. Thank you so much, Priscilla, for joining us tonight. She's one of our regulars, Tiffany. If we don't have Priscilla as an audience member, something's wrong. Maybe she's a little bit too busy for us on a Tuesday night, or we're not capturing her interest, and we have to have a come to Jesus meeting with her to find out what we need to do. But thank you so much for joining us. And her comment is, and question, thank you for taking on this leadership role with all of its challenges. How do you get our community to understand the NAACP is even more important now than before? Great question.
The way to get them to understand is to be visible. And not just being visible, but also take showing action. So, for example, for starting out, you have to do things like in segments. You can have that pie in the sky, but I'm like, let's just do things, a quarter at a time. So for coming up, one of the things that was very, very important is that I knew that the city of Myrtle Beach had certain vacancies for committees and commissions. And I wanted to make sure we had a voice on those that were relevant to our community. One was like the Myrtle Beach Housing Authority, Senior Advisory Committee, and like the Human Rights Commission. Now, you may say, what's that? But that actually deals with your day-to-day life, like in the heart of Myrtle Beach. But even North Myrtle Beach, even Little River, they all have their own pockets that have the same issues. So we will have members that are sitting on these committees or commissions as well. Outside of that, leading up is, Memorial Weekend Bike Fest. And unlike before, it was really important for me to make sure that we engage with the bikers and to foster a good conversation, not just with our biking community or our festival goers, but also with law enforcement. Because again, there has to be a conversation. So with that being said, for Memorial Weekend, we plan to be, unlike before, just in Myrtle Beach, but along the Grand Strand. So from the very, very north end, closer to Atlantic Beach, then also have locations where we're passing out water near Colonial Mall or Myrtle Beach Mall. I forget what we call it now, but near Bass Pro Shop.
Used to be Briarcliff Mall.
Yeah. Oh, see,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Used
even
to
know.
Right.
Okay, and in Myrtle Beach, and this haven't nailed this down yet, but I think we're going to be near the prayer tent, which is 8th Avenue and Ocean Boulevard. So you'll see us in our shirts, you see us with water, and hey, welcome to Myrtle Beach. Hope you have a good time, be safe, and come back. So we'll be more visible. And we're also because it is election time, June 11th, get out and vote, primary time. So we will be organizing we call it Souls to the Poll. Now, one of our EC members and officers are working on that, but that will be providing transportation to those that need it. And again, we are nonpartisan, so it does not matter how you're voting. We're not going to ask you how you're voting. We're just going to make sure you get to the polls to vote.
Mm-hmm. So, Tiffany, you mentioned a lot of initiatives that are part of the organizational task and the vision that you have moving forward. There is another comment from Karen Grant Breathwaite. Thank you so much for watching tonight. She wants to know, when it comes to a particular community and there are issues going on, how involved does the NAACP get into it to assist? And I was going to ask that question as well surrounding Memorial Weekend. It sounds like, you're doing kind of like it is community engagement, as you said, but more on a peaceful note and as a show of hospitality. But will the NAACP act as a watchdog during Memorial Weekend? And if there are issues, how will you get involved to assist?
Okay, so typically in the past, when there has been a watchdog case that was involved, the national office was here. They opted not to come this year because things have been resolved. However, if you see something, I always say, if you see something, say something. If you see something going on in the community that doesn't look right, let us know. I don't know, or our officers don't know there's a problem if we don't know there's a problem. So all you have to do is reach out to us. So how involved you get is as much details as you can give us. We'll even do some background work, try to, go to the location where something happened. And this isn't just dealing with bikeweed. This can happen with anything that goes on throughout the city.
And we also have a comment from Eugene Bellamy Jr. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. How do we get the community to disassociate the NAACP from being a Democratic Party coalition? You mentioned the Souls to the Polls and being nonpartisan, but a true community coalition.
Oh man, it's Tuesday night. These hard questions.
These are great questions.
Okay, I don't know how to break that barrier for someone. I don't know how to break that barrier for people to not associate the NAACP with Democrats. However, if we go back in history, there were lots of Republicans that really helped push the movements forward when it came to voting, and some of our initiatives that have occurred to help Black American women. So we can't be hubris to that. That's almost as if saying, how can you disassociate the NAACP and being not associated with the Black church, whether AME, Colgate, it doesn't mean just because you're Catholic you can't be a member. So there's stereotypes, and what it is just an unconscious bias. And if we don't want people to have an unconscious bias against us, or what they presume happens like during certain festivals, we can't have that for this organization. And I think I'm living proof that, you can be of another party and of another religion and still be Black, but at the same time, at the end of the day, injustice for one is injustice for all. And I'll never forget.
And again, it's that intersectionality that is going to be part of the movement as you strive for equity, equality, and inclusion. And maybe, seeing more of you, like you said, being visible and also bringing more people on board who can help with that particular erasure of the stereotype. I don't think it will ever be erased. And we have to remember that when we think about the NAACP historically, the fight was a civil rights fight, and it was primarily for, Blacks. And but you're right, there were other people who were involved in that. But I don't think that over time, the evolution of the NAACP included the education about other people being involved. So, that stereotype just kind of, stuck. And I'm sure there are things on a national level that people locally don't know anything about. And so maybe, as you talked about the fact that there's a Conway branch, there's a Georgetown branch, all the branches could, make sure that that's a part of what they aspire to do as, they, I guess, shift try to shift the mindsets of people, is to truly educate them so that, if someone walks in, they don't feel threatened because that person doesn't look like them or doesn't, isn't a member of the same party or the same religion, but they do have the same vision and aspiration in terms of the mission of the NAACP. So we have to all learn how to work together in spite of our differences. So I'm going to attempt to bring Brother Edward in before we start talking about some of the other points that we want to cover tonight. And let's see if we can add him to the screen. Brother Edward, say something to make sure that you can be heard. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We apologize for the
technical difficulties on my end here.
So. Yeah. So we have it together now, and so we've covered quite a lot in terms of the vision and the organizational tasks that are ahead. Tiffany is, I'm sure you were watching. She's talked a lot about working to place individuals within the Grand Strand area in committees and commissions, and the task for Memorial Weekend, the voting task that's ahead as well. And so when we get back to the vision of the NAACP, which is to be in the forefront of critical issues facing the Grand Strand, Tiffany, what are the three areas you mentioned earlier? Education.
Yeah, definitely.
Definite education, promoting voting accessibility, and improving overall wellness of life. So let's dig into those things a little bit. Let's start with education.
Okay. I honestly know, and there's so many folks that are, and I'm sure there's some educators that are on too, that are listening, that child learns differently. I learn differently. Some people are more visual learners, and no one should just shuffle through the system. Sometimes we have to take accountability and take pause, but at the same time, oftentimes people want to put a lot of responsibility just on the parent. But guess what? If that parent is working, remember we talked about the economy, if that parent is working 2 jobs just to make a living and keep the lights on, how active and how much of a force can that parent be in that child's life? But we can have those positive mentors and mentors there with those mentees to make sure that they're learning where it needs to be. The reading level is where it needs to be. And there were times when we would volunteer and to go into schools and just read to 2nd and 3rd graders so that they see people that look like us and say, oh, wow, they live here. They're not in a uniform. Yeah, there's plenty of Black professionals that are out there that are willing to take you under their wing and, and I'll tell anyone, mentorship is not from 9 to 5. It goes into the evenings and the weekends. Do your due diligence and help your community.
Mm-hmm. So, and I know that part of, what we were talking about when we were going over talking points, you specifically talked about the reading and math piece of education and why it's important for us to, as a community, to, take hold of what's happening with our young students, our students in general, when it comes to reading and math. So how do you propose the NAACP gets involved in that respect?
Well, now we have done that in previous years. We've hosted workshops and we actually went into the schools. And I remember personally saying that I didn't want to just go to a Myrtle Beach middle school. So I remember driving to Loris And I think the teacher, I called her Miss Amy, reading to the third graders like twice a month. So you can take an active stance, and you can even help to tutor. And it goes past just reading and math. Let's look at STEM. That's an area that is emerging. I just want to make sure that the playing field is as level as possible. And that even partnering with other organizations that have a similar platform, but they can provide another level of expertise, we're all for it.
Awesome. And then, we talked about promoting voting accessibility. One of the ways that you're doing that is through the Souls to the Polls. But are there any other aspects of that you believe the NAACP will be highly engaged in to make sure that, people have access to the polls and also the education surrounding voting, candidate information and all of that great stuff? So.
That's a great question. So I know that one of the things we wanted is not going to happen for the primary. So it won't happen for June 11th, but it will occur for the November election. There will be a Meet the Candidates forum. And that will include all candidates. And it may be segmented like a weekend for this, a weekend for that, but that will provide that educational tool because you don't know until you know. You don't know until you have the opportunity to ask and to have those real questions asked to them as to what they think, because they are those folks that are making the policies that you depended on them to vote for.
Mm-hmm.
And they vote for those things that you really need that's going to enrich your community and better your life. And they have that obligation. But I stressed this at a meeting the other day. There wasn't one of our meetings. It was another community meeting that there is a site that, you can find out what all our legislators are going to be voting on and reading. And so often we just kind of, and it's just not just, it's everyone. We want information curated to us. That's what social media does. Give us what we want, give us what they want. But sometimes you really have to put in the work and go after and see what are they talking about today? What issues are they going to be voting on coming up? How can we take a stand? Hey, how many letters can we write to our congressperson or House of Representative or senator or city councilman or county council person? Let's all attend a meeting together and have one person speak on whatever those topics are. So when it comes to not just getting people to the polls, but we will have those, let's say town hall meetings, if you wanted, make it say it a different way.
Mm-hmm. So we do have a couple of questions that kind of lean into what you're talking about. One, you've already mentioned, the connection between, community members and how to bring everyone together, even from different backgrounds. And so the question is, where do you see the NAACP and Jewish communities uniting to urge the support of the hate crime bill?
I think it's very important. And the reason why I think it's an excellent pair, because the South Carolina Jewish Federation doesn't shy away from this movement. We've made several trips to the state capitol and actually spoke on the floor together. We had our time to meet with our delegation and to also speak to address the issues. Collectively, you can do so much more. And I know sometimes we all get stuck into saying, well, I want to say that my organization did it. But does it really matter at the end of the day if we get the results that we want? I honestly think that my life is worth more than like a $500 fine and so many days in jail. And I want other people to realize it too. So I think working together, that's going to be the route. We missed the boat this time around. And that's what really bothered me with S. Bill 615. When I talked to my senator about it, it was only 6 more days left before they were out for recess. And it was like, it's not happening. Part of that is it wasn't enough members of the Republican Party that was behind it. Now, the conversation was over the phone. I feel as if the conversation was in a room, we could have probably gotten to the heart of why is it not going to happen? How is it drafted? What a part of this draft or this bill makes people uncomfortable, because clearly there's a level of uncomfortability. I know that they want all of us to be safe. I honestly believe they want us all to be safe, but there has to be some language in there that makes someone feel uncomfortable, and that is what will offer foster honest dialogue.
Marjorie McIver, thank you so much for watching tonight. Tiffany, you've already talked about the educating and the voting piece, but she asked, will you have plans to coordinate efforts with other branches like Conway and surrounding areas on even like employment? And just the overall question is coordinating efforts with the other branches.
We have no problem sharing. No, I mean, that is okay. No, really. People can be very territorial, okay? I have no problem. Like, if we have a speaker come, or let's just say we put on a workshop for DBEs, disadvantaged business owners. Now, what I would never do is just do a workshop for disadvantaged business owners. I would want to have members in the community that are well versed in getting you certified and getting everything you need as a disadvantaged business owner, walking you all the way through each step, because it requires that, right? So if someone from Conway wants to come, or if they say, hey, can whomever you have come to our area next week or whatever, that's fine. But typically each branch has a budget. Each branch works separately, but we don't mind sharing. I'm an only kid, but I don't mind sharing.
That's interesting, Brother Edward. I guess we don't think about the fact that, yeah, they are operating as an organization and have a budget, which we're going to get into funding in just a moment. And so collaborating efforts also means sharing the expenses. And, it does cost to put things on. So, and Tiffany, have you had conversations yet with the other branches in Horry County about, even just coming to the table to talk about what's going on in the area and how you all can collaborate?
Not yet. Well, not yet. Initially, there was a thought regarding the hate crime bill, and that was for Conway. I saw a different approach, especially after I found out from my legislator what wasn't going to happen. And while I shared it with my branch, you can go and support if you wish, but if I know something's dead in the water, it's dead in the water. But we have no problem like cooperating back and forth or in tandem with each other. And keep in mind, it's only been 1 month. So 6 months or a year from now, give me to the spring, and then you can really see how we shine and how we have worked foster communications back and forth.
So okay, go ahead. So Tiffany, welcome to the program.
You're not going to questions about war in Detroit, are you?
No. So in terms of the subject of funding, now that you in your new position with the NAACP, do you have any strategies that you like to share? You may have since I was off for a while, but I was listening. You have what new strategies do you have that you envision that you think would be great advantage that's not happening today?
Okay, well,
because funding is an issue.
Yeah, well, every year, and this has always been the case. So there is no boat rocking at all. Okay, our standing fundraiser is always the Freedom Fund. That's for all branches, and that is typically your largest fundraising event, and that's based off ticket sales and sponsorships. So that is typically the largest fundraiser, and it takes place in October, November, during that time before Thanksgiving. So we will hold a Freedom Fund banquet. There may be some door prizes. There may be some auction items. I don't know. I have lots of things in store. But outside of that, there was a while back I shared with April that I thought would be a really cool thing to do. It's called a P&G affair, painting and Pinot and spoken word. and to have an exhibit space that also, and see what that does is also activate a younger demographic to
Right.
gravitate towards the NAACP, where you are having, you're seeing art, you're having spoken word poetry, and I mean, everyone likes a little wine.
So you've got fun.
There'll be a ticketed event.
Well, it's great that you're coming up with ideas to engage the younger audiences, because that 25 to 35 crowd is tough, and 18 to 25 even tougher. So yeah, and aside from the Freedom Fund fundraiser, are there other opportunities during the year for you to I guess raise funds or accept donations for the NAACP? How does that work?
So donations are always accepted. But there's only typically just one fundraiser that all branches do. There's at least one that you need to do in order to sustain, because you're a working branch. Your budget is what brings in. Like the national doesn't give us money. So money comes from membership, money comes from sponsorships, and money comes from fundraising.
How many members do you currently have, Tiffany? Do you know? Or is it like, you're resurrecting the membership as well?
The last count was 82.
Oh, wow.
That's not bad.
Large group. Yeah.
Not bad.
That's a large group. And does that represent?
Yeah.
Does that represent, the entire corridor? Or do you find that you have more members from a particular part of Grand Strand?
It's more right now in the heart of Myrtle Beach. But that is only because that's where, during the winter month, I think that's where the largest fundraising efforts occurred. But that's why it's very, very important for us to be visible, like I said, in the North Myrtle Beach area and in the Surfside area. Because the more they see you and the more they see the effectiveness of the programs you put on and the things you do, the more engaged folks are going to want to be.
Mm-hmm. So how can people get involved? It sounds like, your membership outreach is, of course, going to be primarily the Grand Strand area. What if someone says, well, I'm in Conway or I'm in Aner and I want to be a part of the Myrtle Beach branch? Is that allowed?
You're not going to get me in trouble.
I'm just asking because the question may come up.
Okay, the answer is yes. You can live in Ohio and have a membership in Ohio and change your membership to the Myrtle Beach branch 5568.
Oh, okay. I think that's something that we really didn't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Memberships can be transferred. Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. And you listed a number of committees and I guess councils that are part of the NAACP, and I'm sure you need a lot of community support. So talk about some of the different committees that are formed and as far as the reorganization.
So when we talk about education, so we will have an education chair. And I always tell everyone, there's no committee of one. You at least need like 3 to 4 people on a committee. So an education chair, someone for membership and retention, because sometimes you can lose that member if they're not getting exactly what it is that they need. So it's important to find out what are the touch points that will re-synergize that particular member. And oftentimes, that person that you're thinking, they never come to meetings, they don't care. They may be fine with simply being able just to write the thank you notes. It's just small things like that. Outside of that is obviously community relations. And that's making sure that we are present at all community events. So we're going to one on the 21st of the month. It's on Carver Street. I think it's Booker T. Washington community event. We're not speaking, we're not doing anything. We're just being there and being engaged and being involved. So that's an example of community relations. The other one, obviously, is what's the most important is the economic and environmental justice and social justice committee and redress. That's the one and that is the one that we get most of the calls about is the last one. And that's when you feel that you've been wronged with your employer. What's my next step? But you know what I want to do before you're wrong? I want to make sure that we start fostering those conversations with, let's say, the school board, banks, municipalities, and just seeing, hey, where's their disconnect? What is it that we can do? Our sensitivity training course is needed. Let us see what your diversity, equity, inclusion program looks like. Being that safe place that we can provide input before anyone has to be on the opposition or you playing defense. Like, let's make it work cohesively together first, and you can.
All right. Well, Tiff, I tell you, you have really given us some great information about what you plan with within your new role and how you envision there being a bigger and better NAACP. And it sounds like you're well on the way with your, new slate of officers, 82 members. I'm sure it's going to grow. And you pointed out that the vision that you have for the NAACP Myrtle Beach branch aligns with the core values of the NAACP. And, that is something that I think is absolutely fantastic because you're sticking to the mission that has evolved over time, as you've explained. So there are many people who wish you tons of luck. Being a leader, especially a president of an organization, is certainly not an easy task. Especially when you're also balancing work life, personal life, and all that good stuff. And the NAACP is such a high profile role. I'm sure that you have a lot that you have to consider as you move through the organizational task and thinking about, as you think about membership and, any issues that can come up in proactive and reactive ways. But please know that the community is here to support you. Meaning, World Community Magazine will certainly support you if you want to come back and, give us information, follow-ups on any of these initiatives that you're working on, especially, hate crime bill or, anything that's related to placements on these committees and commissions where we really need to be visible and seen. If you want to come back and promote any of this, I'm sure Brother Edward would not mind you being a part of this. And is there any, are there any final words that you'd like to leave with us as far as your information or how they can reach you? I think you have a Facebook page.
Yes, we have a Facebook page, but I do want to say there's two things that I can honestly say separated us from then and now. This is the first that we have ever had a we've met with all the chiefs from Georgetown to here. Okay, the very first time to express what our concerns were and what our vision were. This is the first time. This time because we get so many calls about, hey, where do I find housing? Blah, blah, blah. So we're working with those agencies to form a database. So when we receive those calls, we're able to immediately direct you to who you need to talk to. And one of the organizations will probably most likely be like New Direction. One of the Horry County Sheriff's Office has a clergy council that they want us to work in tandem with, where they have like a PDF of like all the disaster relief numbers and all the people that you need to know. So we are really trying to be the connecting force of the community. That was, and there's someone who's tasked with doing that, and she's excellent at organizing and pointing people in the right direction.
A couple of things you didn't have an opportunity to mention, and I'll just say this real quick. You talked about an accommodations tax advisory committee, a seniors advisory committee, human rights commission. Those are some committees and commissions that you would like to see filled because they're currently open seats for those meetings. And now you've listed, of course, when these meetings take place. Can all that information be found on your Facebook page, or how can people get this information from you as a resource?
Got it. So this information is on the Facebook page because it is for the members. We just had a meeting yesterday to decide who wants to apply to serve on that commission.
Okay.
After they have that meeting, they will give updates, and we will provide the community with the updates from those meetings.
Got it. Also, you mentioned serving as a community, director resource for services like housing and et cetera. And that you and an executive board member are currently compiling that data. So that information will be readily available as well. How how's it going as far as that CCU branch, the collegiate branch that you were talking about?
Actually, it's going great because the person came to me at a chamber banquet one evening and said, "Hey, Tiffany, this is what I would like to do." Right now, they just had their break from, they just had graduation. So they'll be back from sabbatical in about 2 months. And that's an excellent time to be able to kickstart that. And when someone comes to you and you're like saying, please, 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 and they say, hey, we're excited about the vision. We want to be a part of it. We see the value and we believe in you. We believe in the organization. And I don't want anyone to leave thinking that it's not about the advancement of colored people. That is still the case. And I just want to say, what does color look like now?
Ooh, that's deep. What does color look like now? Yeah, that's a part of that evolution, right? Yeah, in more ways than one, and not just about skin tone, right? Okay, all right. I'm gonna bring Brother Edward back. He popped off of the screen to see if he has any remarks or anything he wants to make before we say goodnight. Can you hear us, Brother Edward? Can you see us? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted, Brother Edward. He probably, yeah.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they had to switch back and forth. Had some little technical difficulties there. I think what we've heard tonight was something, a lot of clarity involved. I think it's the first thing that stands out, right? April, you can back me up on that if you like. But I saw a lot of clarity and really appreciate Tiffany, making that clarity known to us. Why I was interested in the funding, Tiffany, was because it seems like every jurisdiction that I've been in, it's always been an issue. Okay. And seldom does anyone come up with, just ideas right away. And then if they came up with anything that's halfway decent, they fail to implement them, or they just drop off the scene in terms of doing that. And I don't know for what reason. So,
well, do you remember we hosted, do you remember the centennial for the NAACP? That was the first year I had us at the Grand Dunes. I was able to get that event complete, 100% sponsored, paid for, and people only had to pay ticket sales, admission. So it comes down to fundraising. And it also comes, and we have to remember this too. It's not about who you know, but who knows you. And to not only go to people when you need things, but to develop honest, true relationships with folks. And when you do that, always be on your side and they will always help you. When people like you and trust you, they give you money and they support your cause.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Heart Ball to the Humane Society, it doesn't matter.
Well, I also share your enthusiasm, and I appreciate your enthusiasm about your new position. It seems like you, your enthusiasm to me, I'm getting is that you're glad and you have some things in the fire that you've always wanted to do or something. Yeah, I just kind of get that projection.
So can I count on you for life membership, sir?
Huh?
Sir.
What would you say? I'm sorry. What'd you say? No. What? No. What?
Can I count on you for a life membership?
Oh yeah, I think I'm life already. I think so. Yeah.
I'm
at least in Conway, anyway.
Okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for having me. And the organization totally appreciates it. And this is the lift that we needed. This is the first interview. There has been a newspaper interview, but I'm not quite sure when that will be released. And it feels good to start locally and to start a community. And we all know that it takes unity to make a community. And that's what
strength and unity.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for being with us this evening. And again, Brother Edward, I've already invited her back at any time she needs the platform to talk about updates and things that are going on, not just when there's an issue, but just to keep us informed of the different things that you're doing and your officers and your members to continue to elevate the Myrtle Beach branch of the NAACP. So thank you again for this evening. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Yeah. And to our guest tonight, thank you so much for being with us. You asked great questions tonight. Tiffany, you were ready. You actually you were ready for the questions, and that's awesome. That's, you can't be in a position like this and not be bold enough to answer the questions when when they're given to you. So thank you so much for that. And Priscilla Fuller mentioned that anybody in Conway should contact Reverend Kenneth Floyd for more information about joining the Conway branch of the NAACP. And Brother Edward said to Priscilla, well, we need to bring him on the show. So help us set that up. Help us coordinate an appearance so we can hear from him, what all is going on in Conway as well. And we'll continue to do that around the Grand Strand area just to make sure that everybody's informed about what's happening from corner to corner. I think that would be great.
Absolutely.
So we really appreciate everyone watching tonight. Thank you so much. And if God says so, we'll be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m.
April, let me say something about the summer jobs program that we've been getting a number of calls for. I regret to inform everyone that we can't implement that this year. There's a lot of some logistics that kind of prevents us from doing that. It's not the funding. Because since we've sent out the communication, people have been calling before the communication, and people have been calling, wanted to know when we're going to start. And this year, more than last year, it's just that we're short of labor in order to perform this efficiently. When you start dealing with monies that people are donating, you have to be very careful with that. So, and we need adequate labor and adequate help in order to, kind of carry it out more efficiently and make sure that those the donations are being spent properly. And we haven't had that issue in the past, but I can see it creeping up, and it's gotten to a point where I think we're going to kind of like regroup a little bit and see if we can get some more labor to kind of help us out, because people, they're wanting to donate. I mean, we're getting phone calls and want to know we're going to still have it, and from a lot of parents too. So I just wanted to say that. So
okay, all right. Well, hopefully next week we'll have the Porterfields to come and give us the Porterfield report. I know there was some important information they were going to share along with the City Council review. I'll call it that. And Priscilla is saying that on May 20th, there's the award to the Whittemore Race Path Historic Society by the Worry Preservation Myrtle Beach Jazz Society.
Yeah.
Brother Edward, do you know much about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's I wish I had that to be posted. We're going to either post it on our website, or it's a flyer, and also to your website, April. The network. Okay. Yeah, we'll have it on there.
All right. Okay. Well, congratulations to the Whittemore Race Path Historic Society for the hard work you're doing and the recognition that you're getting for that. May 20th is the award. Ms. McIver says that Summer Literacy Initiative will kick off this week. So we'll be posting more information about that really soon as well. And maybe next week, Ms. McIver or somebody can come on and talk a little bit about the Summer Literacy Initiative. That would be good.
Great. Absolutely. I'm telling you, boy, that's I like that time of the year. Every year, Ms. McIver comes up with some great reading. Comes up with some great innovative ideas and everything.
Yes.
Man, kudos to Ms. McIver.
Yes, yes. So, well, with that being said, I don't think there are any other announcements. Brother Edward, it's been a great evening. And again, we thank Tiffany Andrews, the newly elected president of the NAACP Myrtle Beach branch, who was with us tonight and shared her vision and thrust for the coming year. And so we wish them the best as they try to organize everything. And we'll definitely be back next Tuesday, like I said, God willing, with more community news and things that are happening. Thank you all so much. And we hope that you have a good rest of the week.
Godspeed.
Yes.
Godspeed.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host, Edward McQueen and April Garner.